To Hong Kong now, and fears that a fifth wave of the pandemic could be descending on the city, and the government is locking down 11 residential buildings as new cases emerge. Residents will not be allowed to leave and must undergo mandatory COVID testing. Well, let's go straight to Hong Kong. Will Ripley joins us now to tell us more about these 11 buildings and the folks inside them who were surprised by a knock on the door.
Yeah, it was surprising, not because it hasn't happened here in Hong Kong, because it has in more densely populated, lower-income neighborhoods. But we are now in the heart of central Hong Kong. The rent is high, and people here have almost had this feeling of immunity from the pandemics. They felt kind of separated from the front lines until this weekend, when for the first time, hundreds of health workers and police cordoned off entire neighborhoods in this area of Hong Kong where I'm standing in Sai Ying Pun, also up in the mid-levels. And people were taken by surprise when health officials in hazmat suits knocked on their doors, told them they had to line up for mandatory COVID testing and stay locked down in their apartments until the results came in. This is all happening, Robin, after a cluster of cases, a super spreader event occurred at a gym not too far from where I'm standing right now, a gym frequented mostly by foreigners. At least 100 cases and possibly more are linked to this one fitness center. And then hundreds more people in close contact with the infected have been sent to mandatory government quarantine camps, some of them with young children, sparking concerns about the mental health of these young people who are kind of being uprooted from their homes and having to spend the next 2 weeks isolated in a single room, perhaps with just one of their parents, with the only contact with the outside world being a knock on the door for 3 meals a day. But that is the reality of Hong Kong's current COVID situation as they try to get a grip on this potential fifth wave of the virus, which, despite 3 weeks of mandatory quarantine for many incoming travelers and this 14 days of mandatory isolation for close contacts, has not managed to completely stave off the wave of infections that this city is seeing once again, Robin.
Will, how are they looked after? How are they cared for? What is the environment that they're kept in? Lots of questions, sorry.
Well, there's been a lot of concern, Robin, about the fact that some of these young children who don't actually have COVID have to go to these quarantine facilities and not even perhaps with both of their parents, maybe with just one caregiver. The concern is that it could be a very traumatic experience for a young person to disrupt their routine and send them to a facility where they're essentially locked in a room without much to do. We've been speaking with school officials who say they're now in class teaching children as young as 8 how to prepare for the possibility of quarantine. And I was just speaking with a child psychologist here in Hong Kong who says the most important thing is for parents, just like if you're on a plane and you put your own oxygen mask first and then for your child, parents themselves going through this process need to keep their own stress levels in check and then try to project that calmness onto their children, because the kids really will feed off if the parents are feeling quite stressed. And also probably try to stay off social media, because some of the posts that have been going around have gotten people a bit hysterical. But the Hong Kong government is acknowledging that their quarantine requirements may not be ideal, but they feel it's necessary to try to stave off a fifth wave of COVID-19 here in this city.